Well, housing constitutes 75% of the built space in cities. And even more, of course, when you talk about small towns and rural areas, but even in the big cities where you have all kinds of other buildings, housing still is the dominant form of building. And if, as we understand today, the major contributors to carbon dioxide emissions are the cities of the world. And in our part of the world, all our cities, small and big, continue to grow and grow rapidly. And housing, again, is the 75% complement of that growth. And so we have a problem there.
See, the most important thing is that the resources on earth are finite. The population is increasing. More and more buildings are being built. Where are the resources going to come from? The building industry consumes quite a major share of all the resources that are utilized from nature.
So if you pay attention to making housing in sustainable ways for all sections of society, not so well-to-do, poor and well-off people, all sections of society, then you're moving towards a more sustainable urban future. So what a good design does, it reduces the demand for air-conditioned comfort. It reduces the demand seasonally. So for less time of the year, you'll find you'll be dependent on air conditioning, and also for less time of the day, you will be dependent on air conditioning.
So air conditioning is not a very good, is not ecological unless it is natural. I have tried a number of ways of air conditioning through the use of earth air tunnels and through the use of chilled water.
Then on the water front, on the front of use of water, if about 200 homes come together, and that's why I think group housing is really the answer for the future, if 200 homes come together, they can take all the wastewater, treat it, recycle it to be used in flushing and in their gardens, to reduce the demand for water by 30 to 40%. That, of course, installation of the system is expensive. It costs more. Management of the system also takes some effort. But because you save water, right, it becomes cost effective. Especially if you are to look at the predictions given by Niti Aayog about shortage of water in our cities, if that's going to be the reality, this is going to make you water safe. So the customer is concerned about two things. Can you find a solution that is green, sustainable, at very little incremental cost? Can you do it? Can you show me that having spent that little incremental cost, 1 or 2 or 3%, can you show me that yes, it is actually going to be economically beneficial for me in the long run because you save electricity and water, let's put it this way. If you can do that, customer has no problem.
At any given point of time, I have at least one project in the office that is doing work like this, sustainable work, for about 3 projects which are not. So that is the ratio of the studio. That's how you can make it economically viable for yourself. Because just doing sustainable projects at this moment is not economically viable. But the wherewithal and the intelligence to build sustainable projects has to evolve, and therefore we need to do it. And it's also the compulsion that I feel within me to actually do work like this.
But here's the irony. What's the real challenge? The real challenge is the speculative market jacking up the prices of land. In a city like Mumbai or any of the bigger cities, if the cost of construction, let us say, is 1,500 rupees a square foot, right? Houses are being sold at 25,000-30,000 rupees a square foot. What is that? What does that mean? That difference between construction cost and the cost of the house. It means someone is making a lot of money for doing nothing simply by holding on to a piece of land and releasing it slowly. Right? That's the irony. So I think it's a real bogey to say people can't afford sustainable buildings. What they can't afford is the speculative play on land markets. They can't afford that.
Now, for instance, in cities, you have very small plots and you don't have a choice in terms of finding a good spot for your house.
On the one side, the supposed shortage of land, and the other side, the supposed high cost of land. What is the arithmetic solution? Well, you can only have so much land available, and you have to house so many people. So what do? You allow them to build tall. FSI of 2, 3, 4, Mumbai, now it is 4. Forgetting absolutely forgetting that produces the most unsustainable form of the city, the most unsustainable form of housing. When you build tall, you are dependent on so much electricity supply to make the buildings work. When you build tall, the cost of maintenance of the building goes up. The construction cost of building goes up. The fire safety norms become much more complicated, and so on and so forth. The life cycle cost of a tall building, say 8 to 10 stories high, compared to a 4-story high building, is something like 30 to 40% higher. The energy that is consumed in taller buildings is 20 to 30% higher than buildings which are 3 or 4 stories high. So we are producing regulations and planning norms which are driving us towards unsustainability. And these tall buildings, poor folks can't live in. Culturally it's not appropriate, socially it's not appropriate, and it cannot be afforded. So what is the solution for? Something is wrong. This is all to do with planning regulations and building bylaws. Well, at the moment, to be quite frank, from the consumer's point of view, the people who are going to buy homes or build homes, I would say those who want to buy homes are not aware that through design they can have something called sustainable homes. And they don't also, we haven't been good enough, I think as professionals we haven't done the job of explaining to people what it means really in their day-to-day life to have a sustainable home.
Traditionally, even the mud house in the village was very beautiful. It is just that currently that aesthetic is completely lost. So the style and the beauty of sustainable buildings and the potential for beauty has to be discussed more, because everybody opts for that beautiful, that sense of beauty. Now, to inculcate that sense of beauty, I think, is something that the media is responsible for. And I think it should be projected and it should reach the minds of people.